Going of the LMP Thunder Series here at Lanes Raceway. As you can see, we already got the racers ready and up and rolling here on our TrackMate software. Randy Kirtley on red, Bruce Bullington on white, Glenn Burden on green, Tom Payton on orange. You just seen Glenn Burden there past your screen right there on the upper right-hand portion. As you can tell, the track has been modified a little bit. Down here, down low, I'll make a circle for it. You can see that now the track does not go at an angle like it used to. It used to go in something like that. Now it's pretty straight across there, you know, as we can tell, straight with the track. But guys have all got on it, and they've been messing around on it, and they've already told me how well they like it. We're going to go out there and talk to them real quick, do a quick interview. I'm going to leave you guys here with the current standings for all of our series. Right now here at Lanes Raceway. That's LMP Thunder, Little Rumble, and Rookie Rumble. Hopefully you guys checked out past Tuesday where we had a radio show at 94.7 WBIO where all these guys were announced also. And plus you could hear more about the racers around this community, whether it be Windy Hollow Raceway, Drag Strip, and a few others. But anyways, I'm going to leave you guys with the standings. I'm going to go do a couple interviews before we get started racing, and I'll be right back in here when we get ready to race. right, we're back here in the booth, as you can tell, as the racers are lining up. All right, racers, is everybody hooked up and ready to go? Like my wife is going to be the track marshal tonight. Is everybody good out there? All right, racers, watch your lights. Here we go. Thursday, June 22nd, 2023. We got 4 racers here at Lanes Raceway, and they're ready to give it all on this new track layout. The first people here to give it a shot. As we go green racing, Randy Kirtley out in the lead right off the gate. But right behind him there in the Mazzetti on Orange Lane, Tom Payton, he's going to rush and give it as much as he can. Tom Payton put the old Lotus body back up for the night as he says he's got to do a little bit more modification as the rear downforce in that car is causing some issues. But anyways, he's got the old Mazzetti back out there representing for the Maserati team there. On the orange lane. A little bit of slop coming out of the horseshoe, but so far so good. Everybody's staying on quite well with the new track modifications. Everybody says that down low on Dead Man's Corner, not a whole lot of having to lift as much right here. The back end's not sliding around as much. So they're able to control their cars. And so far that's what I'm noticing here. Everybody being quite a bit more smooth around the donut portion of the track and through the S's. And just being able to carry that kind of speed there, we're not also seeing a lot of wrecking down underneath the bridge, which is somewhat of Achilles' heel when it comes to trying to track marshal on orange track, is trying to get these cars back on under the bridge. But right now, hardly any issues whatsoever. Randy Kirtley out there with 19 laps, followed by Tom Payton with 20 laps, Bruce Bullington 20 laps, and Glenn Burden 20 laps. So right there, pretty close with each other, just within a lap or so. As Randy Kirtley still reeling it in as he's trying to make his first lap on the guys here. And we can see that Tom Payton there on orange is holding as true as he possibly can, just trying to fend off the wolves here. Randy Kirtley making a pass there on Glenn Burden, about to make a pass, it seems, here on Bruce Bullington's yellow car there on white. He's going in on the inside, but kind of biding his time there as he's kind of just holding up. This could be that maybe he just doesn't have the car to pull it. He was talking about engine issues at the beginning of the race as we interviewed him. His motor could be letting out here. This could be detrimental for this being his 6th race, everybody else's 7th. And Tom Payton, I think this is his 3rd race, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, you guys have seen the points where these guys are located now. Those points, of course, will accumulate as we see Bruce Bullington coming off there on the back stretch, getting his car put back on in a timely fashion. 2 minutes and 33 seconds left to go. But those points will continue to increase as we continue on in this L&P Thunder series here. Over 20-something races that we will completely run here at Lanes Raceway on Thursday and Sunday night combined. But for this race weekend, it's starting at June 22nd, 2023, and then we'll have another one this coming Sunday for the L&P racers here. This one tends to be a little bit easier of a race for the guys, not too much of a struggle for them, as we have anywhere from 3 to 4 guys at a time running the race. We see my wife there hitting the track call button as a car got lost up underneath the bridge, lost a couple laps there. Randy Kirtley still total laps of 49, right behind him Tom Payton with 47, Bruce Bullington 45, Glenn Burden 43. So if anybody was looking at the leaderboards of how many laps there is right now, it's simple. The reason why that they're so skewed out is some people have not ran every single race, and some people like Bruce and Glenn have. Randy Kirtley, he's down a race. Tom, he's down a couple races also. So we'll see. Of course, at the beginning of the series, Tom was on vacation, so he couldn't make them. But here in just a couple days or weeks, we're going to start seeing people be able to get caught up, and we'll see these numbers start to dwindle, and in some cases increase depending on how well people start to race. So Randy Kirtley and Bruce Bullington coming over there to check the track. Something may be going on here. Debris on the track is what I'm hearing. like Randy Kirtley's trying his best to get said debris out from underneath the bridge portion of the track. Looks like he's using tires to do so. This could be weight from these cars, could be a brush off of a car. Who knows? All I know is that T, my wife there, she vacuumed the whole track before the racers got here. So I know it's recent debris for sure. What is it, you think? In the light? Could be a broke off guide flag. Who knows? Something stuck in the track, though. That's all we know. I'm going to go out here and check the track with these guys. I'll be right back with you. All right, racers, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Racers under control, everything good. What it was is that Bruce Bullington's guide flag had a little bit of a issue there. We got weighted guide flags here at Lanes Raceway, and sometimes the weight comes out of them depending on how hard they hit in the front. Well, he had sorted his one side of his weight just a little crooked there, or super glued it just a little bit crooked on the left side there, and it was getting pinched in the slot underneath the track there. So I took a file and we filed it down. Randy pushed the other side in, and now she's going pretty good under white, as we can tell. So Randy Kirtley there right behind Bruce Bullington on that red lane as he's trying his best to make a pass here on Bruce. Bruce's car there streamlining, going pretty quick, able to hold Randy off there on the straight stretch. Now that everybody is running quite evenly there on Dead Man's Corner, we're not experiencing too much of an issue on Dead Man's Corner. And that's exciting to see. I'm hoping that maybe this will help come Sunday when we have more of a full pack here. As we know, last Sunday was a bit of a debacle. When we have that many people again, folks, we're definitely going to have to work on how we did the track marshaling. And I already kind of mentioned what we were going to do the previous week, and none of the guys kind of went along with that. So hopefully this week we'll get the guys on board and they'll more or less track marshal the track like a live track, and we won't have that issue. Leaving the button, as you can see, just hanging off the chair there is best principle. Don't leave it in your hand, because that's more apt to make you press the button versus just putting the car back on. These racers, man, they thrive off of getting in the zone, getting that nice smooth zone going. And whenever you hit that track call button a whole lot of times, it just cuts that rhythm down to where these guys end up kind of falling apart in the same spot. So we want to hit that track call button only when we can't excessively get those cars. And that's about it. So as we can see, that's a red flag rotation and a heat over. Randy Kirtley out in the lead with 81 total laps there. 77 Tom Payton, 73 Bruce Bullington, Glenn Burden 69. As we know, Bruce was experiencing a little bit of issues there on White Lane. Hopefully he gets that figured out. But as we know here in the Pro Series, you know, every little bit counts and could be very detrimental in certain cases. I'm going to leave you guys here with the updated pinball scores here. And I'm going to take a small break and make sure everything's going right with Bruce out there. And we'll be right there back with you. We're in the booth, back in the booth, ready to go. As we can see, the racers are out there. Hopefully you guys heard that interview that I had with Bruce, but you know, you can prepare your car for so much, but then you got to get out here and race and perform, and you know, Bruce always does the best that he can, but it's hard to have this orange track in your man cave or wherever it is that you're working on the cars, but it was a quick, easy fix. He said he didn't think it cost him too much time, as we can tell. Maybe about 2 laps it might have cost him. He's down in 3rd place right now, 80 to Tom's 84. Tom's got Randy Kirtley within 4 laps currently. Randy running a 3.5. He's really enjoying the way that the track's going right now. But one thing I am noticing is the smoothness that these guys are going up underneath the bridge. It seems like the cars are more linear when it comes to stopping, because they only have to let off that trigger that one time to be able to get those cars to actually turn in the position that they're supposed to. We see Bruce there kicking her sideways a little bit there on red, costing him about a lap or so, and Tom Payton also. But I think T out there, she's doing a magnificent job, the job of 2 people really, and we do appreciate her spending her time out there helping these racers. We get a 3-way cluster up there, but out of the bridge we see Bruce Bullington taking the lead. He's neck and neck with Randy Kirtley up underneath the bridge, going around, kind of getting hung up there a little bit on the donut, giving Randy about a 6-car lead as he comes off there in the donut portion of the track, kind of falling back. Randy Kirtley there trying to make another lap here as we see Glenn Burden there running some good consecutive laps there, keeping his car in. Glenn must really enjoy the way that the track's kind of flattened out a little bit here. Mozzie coming off that track again, getting a little bit of an incident caused there between Glenn. As we see Glenn there trying to keep his stuff on now. The only car that hasn't wrecked would be Randy Kirtley there on green, being able to dodge all those wrecks so far. As Randy Kirtley goes to make that pass on the inside of Glenn Burden, Glenn not able to hold it as tight as Randy's Lola car he's got there. We also see there on red lane, Bruce coming out again, kind of slowing up Randy there. That's what the guys are probably wanting to see, as Randy's now currently in the lead by about 7 laps. 116 total laps. 2nd place Tom Payton with 109, and Bruce Bullington 104 to round up your top 3. Glenn Burden right there still in the fight, though. He's only about 4 laps down from Bruce Bullington. We'll see if he'll be able to hold it on. We see the Mazzetti car of Tom Payton kind of falling out there on the white lane as he comes up underneath the bridge, and he gets kicked to the outside of white up there, getting kicked up to the upper portion there in the high banks. As he went around, we've seen him and Bruce Bullington make a little bit of contact, or not Bruce Bullington, but Randy Kirtley make a little bit of contact coming through the high banks portion of the track. As we see the Mazzetti of Tom Payton trying his best to reel in Bruce Bullington there in the yellow Cobra. We see that yellow Cobra being able to stay out front and make some pretty consecutive runs here. As we see maybe an issue there with the length of the guide flag being just a hair long there on red lane now, that it's the change in elevation is a little bit steeper, causing the guys to really need a bit of a smaller guide flag going around the donut now. Alicia says, "Come on, Dad, let's go." Yeah, like I said, those heavy-weighted guide flags, they're a hair longer than the Cofords that we sell here. And they're a little bit shorter than the flat track guide flags. In my personal opinion, I do not like how that they are pointed at the end. Let me take a quick break here real quick, and I'll come back and show you the difference between the two. But what I like for elevational changing in tracks is a nice rounded head guide flag versus those sharp pointy guide flags. I think they dig in, and when the guide flags are just a hair bit longer, going around those tight radiuses on red and white and sometimes on black and purple tends to cause the guide flags to catch up a little bit. So I'm going to grab a couple of these guide flags. I'll be right back with you here in just a second. As we can see, we're back green racing there. I got a couple sets of guide flags here. I usually use these Pampas here just for demonstration purposes, just to show you how much longer some of the flat track style guide flags are. These are the same length as a JK guide flag. I don't think I have these Topher guide flags open, but I can make quick work of that. But these are just kind of some techniques to know when you go to racing at different places, depending on elevation changes. I just about lost my microphone there. Woo. Hoping I can show you through the screen without so much taking it out of the bag here. But we can see, again, if I can get it in focus here. I don't know if I can get it in focus or not. Kind of in focus there. You can kind of see how it's to a point right there of the guide flag. I think that portion digs in. Now here's a standard Topher, and we can kind of see how it's rounded there at the end. I think that does better on our orange track than, of course, those sharper points. Now, something else that you'll notice here, if we're to compare the size of these two guide flags, you'll see that it's just, I mean, a hair, probably about a 1/16 of an inch longer than that Topher. You can't really tell it probably from the camera, but then you can tell a big difference between this Pampa size and the size of the ones that we run. You can see that it's out there a good 1/8 of an inch or so. Same thing goes here for the Tophers here. If I can get them lined up just perfect in front of the camera. You can see that. The longer these guide flags are, the more issue that you tend to have when they go around those tighter corners. And like I said, I love a good rounded guide flag. Those Pampas, they remind me of like Slick 7 guide flags with the angles, which the angles are not too bad as long as they got rounded tips or squared up tips. But I really just do not like the sharp points of some of those Mid-Americas. We see my wife out there with a braid roller. I think that's where we're seeing have to use the braid roller quite a bit, is those sharp tip guide flags. And it's not just Mid-Americas, but they're the more popular ones that have the little sharp tips on the ends. And I believe that when people push it just a little too deep there in the corners, it ends up getting inside the slot and kind of angling it just perfect to where that it rolls that braid up. And then people have a hard time keeping their cars in. But nonetheless, after that heat, we got a fight for second place. Glenn Burton, Bruce Bullington, 143, Tom Payton, 144. Randy Curley out in the lead by about 20 or so laps there, we see, with 162 total laps as we end that heat. Going to take you over here to the current standings. Going to take a small break and be right back with you. ladies and gentlemen. We are back racing. Oh, the Mirage. What corner did you change the angle elevation on the track? Is it in turn out of the bridge? So Alicia, the corner that we messed with was this corner right here. I'm gonna circle it for you. Dead Man's Corner. So what we did, you can see these jack stands here in the upper right hand portion of your screen. Sorry, I need to learn English. But anyways, right there where those jack stands is, we took a jack and we actually jacked that up with a paint can. I wish you could see on the other side a little bit better right in this area, because we forced it downward right here in this corner to make it where that the angle wasn't kicking the cars off. Now it's more flat going up underneath there. Well, we pushed down on that and we ended up anchoring it to the ground. So there's a piece of tie wire there wrapped around something underneath the corner of the track right here, and that's holding the track downward. And that keeps that portion down while being on the jack stand over here on this other side, and it kind of keeps it level across there, so that it's kind of level all the way through here. You start getting some of that variation as you come down through here and you get into the high banks corner here, but nonetheless, we fixed that, and then by fixing that, it causes the elevation to, of course, go uphill right here. So what we had to do while it was going uphill this way is we had to make it go up here and about right there where my wife is. We had to pull it up there and then really pull it up back here on the back portion of the track. And then we just re-drilled the hose and had it all set. So now they should be able to carry more speed through the donut right here because it's going uphill, so their tires will be behind the car, kind of packing the front up. And then, of course, they'll be able to brake later going down here through the front stretch to be able to go up under this corner, because the corner doesn't actually dip over this way. It's flat now, so they don't have to actually balance their car out as much anymore before going under that corner, nor do they have to grab it as the back end kicks around. Now, that's still a good strategy to always get the car to grab as it kicks around. I mean, that's a good strategy anyway. So when that back end flicks around here, you want to gas it through. But it's not as important as it was. But the way it was Sunday, if you didn't do that, then your car would come off. At least now, if you don't do it, most likely your car will still stay in, because you still started to brake about in this zone right here. So anyways, that's what we did, and I mean, this is what I'm seeing right now, because, I mean, Alicia, you were here Sunday. It was every second. It was tough to watch that go down, but now we can see the cars. Of course, it is less of a pack here, but we are having tremendously less wrecks going on right now. Now, granted, these are probably 4 of our better racers here, so we don't have as much wrecks simply because they have the skill to run it. But at the same aspect, I'm still seeing a whole lot less wrecking there, especially under the dog leg or the Dead Man's Corner. We're starting to see more wrecks take place here going up the hill here, which is a good thing, because then our track marshals can get them. But the ones that my track marshals can't get are the ones under the bridge. Those are ones that almost demand a track call to get, so that somebody can stick their head up under there and grab them cars. That's another thing that it actually benefited too, and you can actually see it here from the pictures. You might have to go and watch the race from Sunday just to see it, but you can see that this little area right here, which would normally be real low, the angle would be like this. Let's see if I can redraw that. So normally it would be resting on the top of that track at an angle like that, but where we jacked this side up right here, it actually made this side go up too, making it to where that you can get your hand up under there a little bit better. And the same thing goes on this side of the track over here too. So about in this area and this area right here, you can actually reach your whole arm up underneath the bridge in this area and grab the stuff. So it's very beneficial all the way around. I've noticed it seems like, see right there, that was our first under the bridge wreck, and that was the Mazzetti of Tom Payton And this is a usual thing there for the red lane. So just to see that red lane's not hardly wrecking at all, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I can tell a big difference when you're here here at the racetrack. Like if you're standing somewhere like in this area right here, and you're looking this way, the picture just don't do it justice. That thing is like literally probably this high on my wife here. So it's up in the air now. Like I might be able to get my mouse to do it, but we can see if you can see that little red dot, it's right on the tip of that leg. It's about as high as it can go on that leg, and then when we lifted it, we drilled out a good probably 4 or 5 inches with a 1/2-inch drill bit to get it that high up in the air and hold. So yeah, it's quite substantially higher than it used to be. Where it used to kind of come right at my waist, now it's about up to the middle section of my belly. So it did break the track when we done it. It actually split it in two in the smaller portion of the track right here. You could almost see it in the video, but right there where that red line is in the bottom right hand portion of your screen, and that little tight corner right there, it broke it. And I believe it broke it somewhere on this portion of the track too, if I'm not mistaken, on the upper right hand. But after that heat, we got Randy Kirkley still out in the lead with 247. Bruce Bullington back in second place now with 224. He's starting to bridge that gap between him and Randy. Tom Payton with 220 and Glenn Burton with 216. As we know, the previous heat, they were all within 1 lap of each other, and a couple of them were on the same lap. So it's a little bit of a change there as we see. But we can see Bruce Bullington tying Randy Kirkley there on green lane with 81 laps. Like I said, Bruce having struggles there on the inner lanes, and I do believe it has to do with those sharp tips on the end of those guide flags. Now, I say that to some of the guys out there, they think I'm crazy, but I do. I really believe that. Just because I have to roll the track, it seems about twice as much when people are running those sharp tip guide flags. I've not actually seen them grab except one time, and that was with Glenn Burton's. And his car was coming around this red lane here last week when he bought a fresh guide flag, and his back end was just jumping up and down going through there. And we couldn't figure out what was going on with it. I was like, well, is his braid getting stuck inside the braid? Like, is his axle bent? We didn't know what was going on. I said, man, it sounds like what was happening when we first opened with people using those flat track guide flags. So we took it and we sanded the tip off, and it fixed it. So all we did was sanded that arrowhead tip off, made it round, and now he's coming around there pretty smoothly. And then yet again, there at the bottom, they got that weight, and it's on both sides of the guide flag. And if it kicks out there just to the left or the right, you know, the recess inside of the slot itself is pretty much the thickness of the guide flag. It's pretty tight. It's not loose at all. So any extra width there would cause a little bit of a pinch too, and kind of slow you down friction-wise. Kind of like if you layered a big bunch of a big bunch of phone book pages together, and you try to rip it apart. Similar fashion there. It's like you're rubbing that friction up against the side of the sidewall of the slot. 26 seconds left to go. We'll be going back green racing. We can see that Tom Payton there, he's doing something there with his car there in the bottom right-hand corner as he got his tail of his car kicked out there on green lane. Glenn Burton getting his sticker put on black lane for his red Havoline car. That Havoline car body holding up quite well as Glenn took a few shots there in the front end, but man, I was kind of surprised how well it was taking the hits. It's got a little bit of a duck bell there at the front of the guide flag, and I think that helps with some front downforce for sure. As we go back green racing, we see a big dive there done by Bruce Bullington as he's trying to get in front of Randy Kirkley and make up some of those laps. But we see the Mazzetti of Tom Payton there on orange giving Bruce a big battle here as they're neck and neck with one another. We'll see who holds the longest. As it looks like T gets a car put back on. That looks to be Glenn Burton there on black. Glenn Burton loves to pull the Bobby Pierce there on black, rubbing that back end all the way around black lane. You can actually do that a little bit better now that the track's a little bit quicker. But we see the battle between Bruce and the Mazzetti of Tom Payton kind of dwindle a little bit as we see Tom Payton's car actually get about 5 or 6 car lengths there. We see the car of Randy Kirtley's there somewhat slacking backwards there on purple lane, but we see Randy Kirtley make a dive bomb on purple as he's able to almost get the pass there on that lap, and he gets the pass that next lap there on Bruce. So we see Bruce Bullington running pretty consecutive laps here. We also see Glenn Burton there kind of having a little bit of an issue there on black, getting used to the track there. As we see his car kind of glitching out there on the backstretch. Now through the S-turns, we see Glenn's car come out there a little bit. He's just trying to hang on to this black lane. He has trouble on the black lane here this race like Randy does on the purple lane. But it seems like the purple lane not really giving Randy much of an issue anymore after the flattening of the track there. But everybody else, it looks like everybody's times somewhat speeding up. Randy there running a 3.3. As we've seen the other day, this car that he's running right now was running 3.2 seconds on all of the lanes. Now running a 3.3. So the claims of that motor maybe laying down could be true. Bruce Bullington and Tom Payton running 3.5s respectively as their best laps. All of them running 3.5, 3.6 as their medians. Glenn Burton, of course, having a few wrecks causing his median to go down, and his best lap of a 3.8. Glenn not being able to get that car to pack in like he really wants to on black. Glenn usually runs those black lanes really, really fast, dragging that back in, but for some reason or another, when he's trying to get it up underneath the dead man's corner and trying to get that back to really drag around that donut and carry as much speed as he can, it seems like it's just enough to unsettle his car and make him come on out. But right behind him, we see Randy just pass him on the straight stretch really, really quick. Looks like it was so quick it ended up causing him to come out there on the dog leg. But that battle still ensues between Bruce Bullington and Tom Payton. Neither one of them giving it an inch as we see still about a 7-car length lead for Tom Payton right in front of Bruce Bullington. But Bruce Bullington not giving up as he's running consecutive here. As he makes a pretty big gap run there, actually reeling in Tom Payton there on green lane. He's right there neck and neck with Randy Kirtley. It's Randy Kirtley, and Bruce Bullington coming out on the S-turn. There for a second, thought he was actually going to be able to get that Mazzetti for a second. Now we're back in it again, and a full lap loss there. Now the Mazzetti and the Cobra neck and neck with each other going around the donut as we see the yellow Cobra coming out once again underneath the bridge. We see my wife getting 2 cars put on underneath the bridge, one of Bruce Bullington and the other of Glenn Burton. But it seems like Bruce Bullington always seems to be getting caught up between the Mazzetti and Randy Kirtley's red and blue Lola from the 60s. Right now we got somewhat of a spread out between all racers, everybody almost equally distance apart. We see Randy Kirtley starting to reel in Glenn Burton there on black lane, and he makes the pass with ease as if something's to be going wrong with Glenn Burton's motor or gear ratio there. For some reason or another, not hooking up as much as Randy Kirtley. Right behind him, we see Bruce Bullington making a run for it as he passes Glenn there on black lane. Glenn may need to make a change in tires possibly here, as it seems that the tires are not doing that car justice. Evidently just spinning there on the backstretch, as we also see the Mazzetti of Tom Payton get an advantage over him too. Tom Payton's Mazzetti coming in quick and kind there to Bruce Bullington's yellow Cobra, as he's going to try to do what Bruce was doing to him earlier. We'll see if he can keep it and stick it, but Bruce is out there in the front holding it down as they've both been battling back and forth this whole heat long, this middle heat. As we can see here, the 2 blue cars rolling up on that yellow beauty. Randy Kirtley going to be able to take him on the inside there as we have another incident and a red flag rotation. All right, guys, do not take your cars to the pit. We need to do a quick weigh-in, and then you'll get as much time as you need in the pits. So we're going to go ahead and do our weigh-in here on rotation 4 of 8, and we'll be right back here with you guys just as soon as we can. All right, here we go. All right, racers, watch your lights. And here we go. We see our 4 racers. They're back and ready to go, running a nice, clean race. Excited to take a picture in front of our podium with these guys. These guys are running real clean. I just had a conversation with every one of them out there, and they say it's 100% better than what it used to be. We see Glenn Burton's car with the new set of fresh tires there on the backstretch in the upper right-hand portion of your screen. He come out a little hot through the old horseshoe there. Probably still used to his other tires he had on there, but now he's got those, fresh ones on there. I don't know exactly what it is that he's running, but he's running a new set of tires nonetheless. Hopefully you guys had seen the latest standings and current pinball scores, but man, people are really rushing and trying to get those scores up as high as they possibly can here in the last few days of this month. It's been a battle, so we'll see who prevails. Looks like Grayson out in the lead for the most part in most of our pinball tournament scores, but don't count old Big Daddy 3 Glenn Burton. He's been putting them in there, holding fast to 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th on a bunch of the machines. Then we got Robert Bishop, Clay Dame, and several of the other guys in here in the mix coming up in here and playing. My mother, she was playing just a little bit ago while we were racing. Probably heard one of the Tyrannosaurus Rexes go wild out there at the beginning of the stream. That was her playing, and she usually puts up some pretty high scores. But right now, back to racing here. We see Bruce Bullington and Tom Payton yet again having themselves a little bit of a battle here. Just one lap separates the two. Bruce Bullington down there on purple, giving it everything he's got as he tries to hold Randy off there on the outside, and he's doing a pretty good job of it, keeping him there at bay. Randy really wanting to dive bomb it through the S-turns. That'll be the place that he'll have to make the leap. And each time he gets side by side with him, he might get it this time, and he does. But right there behind him, there on blue lane, we see Tom Payton. All we need to see is Bruce Bullington be able to hold him off. If he's not able to do so, then Tom will be able to gain that lap and put them both on the same lap. Right there behind him, though, like I said, keeping it about a 6 or so car length difference between the two. Somewhat of this battle taking place here as they go through the backstretch around the donut, and staying just right there neck and neck as they go to try to reel in Glenn Burton and his car with the new set of tires. He did a little bit extra work there during the intermission that we had, as we see Bruce Bullington giving the bullhorns there to Glenn Burton, causing Tom to get involved in that incident too. I will say, when it comes to causing incidents to take place, there was no better timed incident than that to keep Tom off of Bruce's hind end. Bruce made a well-timed judgment call there, not lifting and giving those guys the boot, giving him almost a half of a lap there. But he loses it right there too as Glenn Burton comes off the track, and now he gave that lap right back to the Mazzetti of Tom Payton. Both of these guys essentially on the same lap, about a lap difference from each other. Randy Kirtley and Bruce Bullington there neck and neck yet again through the S portion of the track, as we see Bruce Bullington trying his best to reel in Randy, but Randy just taking that straight line speed. I'm starting to think that this motor of Randy's is unreal as we progress further and further into this race. He's still remaining 3.3 seconds lap time as we get two cars involved in an incident there. Bruce is able to make it through. Bruce and Tom still keeping their distance from one another. 348, 348, they're both on the same lap. Bruce narrowly out in the lead currently. Right behind him, as we see another wreck there by Glenn Burton. Nobody caught up in it except him. We see the Mazzetti car of Tom Payton there getting involved in an incident. This giving Bruce yet a little bit of a lap help there. Also, Tom getting caught up in the wreck of Glenn Burton there in the S portion of the track. As we see Glenn Burton car get a little bit of a touch there on Tom, causing him to lose yet another lap. Now we're back to where we was when we started this heat. Bruce out in the lead by about 2 laps from Tom Payton. And we see Glenn Burton's car just rush there yet again in the S portion of the track. Very, very quick on the trigger there, Glenn Burton, causing his car to come out yet again on the S portion of the track. Another car there under the bridge, I believe that to be Bruce Bullington. We see Glenn Burton there having an issue there on yellow lane there through the S portion of the track. T's going to have to take a look at the track or something there on the S portion of the track. We see rolled up portion of the track there in the S portion. I believe it to be about right here in this area somewhere. She's not looking in the right position. Somewhere about right up in this area is where the roll up part is, causing Glenn to come out right here. So just the same hand movement that Randy had. So I don't know what Glenn just gave Chelsea there, but gave her something, and we'll see if that's going to help Glenn keep his car in. Glenn having some difficulties there staying in on yellow. We see Tom Payton. I'll just open my Blu-ray tray. We see Tom Payton there, 365. Bruce Bullington, 367. Glenn Burton, 337. Randy Curley out in the lead substantially in front of these guys. If we see Bruce letting Randy go on by there. Randy about to approach 400 total laps, about 30 or so laps in front of the rest of the guys. We see Glenn Burton's car yet again coming off there in the S-turn. Don't know exactly what's going on. Maybe just a little bit too much of a push there. They all looked at the track. Didn't see anything wrong with it. Could be higher braids. Who's know? Could just be a bent chassis there on one side, causing it to dip through that S portion. Could be a many of things, but I don't know at this point. Right now, it seems like he's being able to keep her on there in the upper portion of the track there. Bruce Bullington still being able to keep Tom at about a 2-lap bay there as he goes to try his best to reel in Tom Payton there on blue lane. 10 seconds left to go. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it, as he's got a good probably 12 or so car lead in front of Bruce Bullington as they both go to try to reel in Glenn Burton. Glenn Burton's car coming off yet again there in the high bank portion of the track. We see my wife there looking at Glenn's car, and that's the end of the heat. She's saying something about weights missing out of the guide flag or something. Randy Curley there with 411, Bruce Bullington 384, Tom Payton 382, Glenn Burton 351. I'm going to go out there and talk to the guys and let you guys see the current standings here at Lanes Raceway, and I'll see you back here whenever the heat's done. All right, so I'm back here in the booth. And I just talked to Glenn, as you guys heard, a little loose guide flag, and man, was it loose. Those graphite Cofer guide flags, I can't say that they're all great, right? Of course, that's what I like to run, but the graphite Cofer guide flags are so slick. A lot of the times the guide nuts don't like to hang on to them too tight. See, Glenn Burden having some more issues there with his car as he goes to try to get it fixed there and get her put back on orange. Stiff guide flag possibly now. But, yeah, I mean, what you want to do is get them right there to where that you can flick the guide flag back and forth. And sometimes when I get a loose guide flag like what Glenn was experiencing there as he unhooks his controller, probably in frustration with that guide flag, what I like to do is just put a drop of blue Loctite on there, and just that way it doesn't want to back off. But yeah, still yet, in my opinion, I do believe that the Cofer guide flags are by far the best. We've seen Bruce Bullington kind of get hung up there a little bit on the black portion of the lane. 399 to Tom Payton's 398. Still about a 2-lap difference between the two. Looks like they're ripping them there within one. And we get a track call here. Something's going on. Oh, we got a rider. So the rider of Tom Payton there, riding on black lane. Tom should have been on purple. And we're going to see if Tom's going to be able to hold that spot there, maybe gain a little bit up on Bruce Bullington, because he's going to have to start making some laps and hope that Bruce comes out. But Bruce has been very, very strong since he's made the modification there on his yellow car as he gets hung up there in the black lane a little bit, quick on the accelerator through the horseshoe portion of the track. I'm sure the nerves between Bruce and Tom are pretty high right now as they're racing for second position, neck and neck there. Not exactly what Bruce wanted to see there. And just like any of these racers, you know, these guys are out there running for laps, but on top of that, each race is an individual race, and they want to finish as high up on the podium as they possibly can. And yet the blue Mazzetti of Tom Payton coming off yet again under the bridge. Not the place that you want to come off, as that's usually a track call button that has to take place, and it costs a little bit of time. Because we're going to see my wife, she's going to take a look first and see if she can get it, which takes time. If she can, then she'll get you back on. If not, then she's going to have to come back and hit that button. We see Glenn Burden there yet again having some issues there with his car. He's removing his controller again. Going to have to go work on that car and maybe get some more laps in before this race is done. This will be Glenn Burden's 7th race. This is already shaping up to look like that this will be one that probably Glenn will have to end up dropping as he suffered so much issues going on here. But he might as well, in case something happens, try to run this race out and get as many laps as he can. Every racer tends to have quite a bit of issue. Oh, as we see Bruce Bullington giving the old bullhorns there to Tom Payton and the Mozzie. Tom Payton there getting pushed back yet again as he was able to get some of that time caught back up. Now he's a man on a mission, trying to gain even more car control over to try to get his rival Bruce Bullington there. Seems like these guys have been rivaling all season long here, at least in the past couple races since Tom's been racing. They're kind of falling there neck and neck with one another in somewhat of a rivalry that's taking place. The Mazzetti and Randy Kirtley's car getting involved in some incidents as we see Bruce Bullington giving a shunt to the back end of the Mazzetti of Tom Payton. Tom Payton was actually able to catch up just a little bit there as we see Bruce had a little bit of a rush out there on the horseshoe. It's this neck and neck style racing here is causing these guys to be just hair aggressive there through the horseshoe, trying to gain whatever time that they possibly can. All three of them kind of clustering up here. The purple lane car Mazzetti of Tom Payton reeling in Bruce just by hair as Bruce gives him the bullhorns yet again. This is a rivalry that's fixing to start here, ladies and gentlemen, for sure. The Mazzetti able to go on by there as we see Bruce Bullington's car come off there next to Randy Kirtley's car, the red and the blue. But yes, Bruce Bullington and Tom Payton not making friends out there today as we see Bruce Bullington every chance or opportunity he gets there through the horseshoe giving the old bullhorns there to Tom Payton. Which in kind, I will say Tom Payton, he loves to put people in the wall too in that same spot. So we'll see if Tom Payton does the same thing here for Randy Kirtley. Seems like he's out in front of Randy Kirtley there just by a hair as he goes to make the move, and Randy Kirtley makes it on the outside nice and safe. But that Mazzetti of Tom Payton, he's still hungry trying to reel in Bruce. We'll see if he'll be able to reel him in this heat here, as he's very, very hungry trying to get it in. Tom Payton there, of course, having some issues coming around the donut there, more or less trying to push just a little bit harder than the tires can handle. And I think this is the issue that we're running into now, not so much of a driving skill or whether or not he's faster. As we can tell, 3.536 or 3.536 is just a little bit quicker than what Bruce has been running. But we also can see the median of Tom Payton a little bit higher. But the reason that is Tom's doing a whole lot more pushing, putting a whole lot more heat in those tires, causing, you know, those gaps to be very, very narrow for him to hit there, especially around the donut portion of the track. And I think that's why we're seeing Tom there, his resolve just kind of fading a little bit there in the donut portion of the track, causing him to come out. But nonetheless, he's running a great race. As you can tell, he is reeling in Bruce Bullington's car there, because he is just letting it all hang out, speed racer style. And he's gaining a little bit, almost pulling a full-blown drift there in the horseshoe, if you've seen that last portion of the race. Only losing one lap there to Bruce Bullington with as hard of a push as he was involved in, a couple wrecks there. We see a great race in between Tom and Bruce. Still yet anyone's race to be had. 2 heats left to go here. Tom and Bruce neck and neck. We can see that Glenn Burden having such a horrible time out there tonight, only turning 4 laps there on the orange lane. We'll see if he can get his car back in for this next heat. Hopefully he can come back in, get some more laps up to keep him up on that podium. As every week we like to turn in those scores to Blake there at WBIO 94.7, so our guys can get recognized for their accolades here in slot car racing at Livermore, Kentucky. We're going to take a small break here. We'll be right back with you. And speaking of standings, going to leave you guys and gals out there with the standings currently here at Lanes Raceway. You can come join in any of these series, at least for the next couple of weeks. When there's only 8 races left to go on LMP Thunder, we'll be shutting that down. When there's only 5 races left in the Little Rumble and Rookie Rumble, we'll be shutting that down to the public. But until that point, you're more than welcome to come join in on that, because then you'll be able to get through it. But nonetheless, take a small break and be right back with you.
Get ready.
All right. 4 lights to drop, and we'll be going green racing. See Randy Kirtley there in the bottom right-hand portion of your screen. He's there on orange lane. So far tonight, did a update on the graphical processor here in our computer, and I rewired and hot-wired a fan into the computer. And so far, so good. Running a CPU score of 40%. GPU 38. We've only dropped 62 frames tonight. We see my wife rushing to get that Mazzetti of Tom Payton back on. Running an interesting setup. 1 Wonder Rubber tire and 1 treated fish. This is why we're starting to see him get a little bit of that drift and hold it there on the horseshoe. This might be an advantage for him, as nobody tonight has been able to run that black lane very successfully. And we can see that he is able to actually run that horseshoe and whip that back into that car around that horseshoe really pretty tight and quick. So far tonight, he's running a 3.596 there on Black Lane. We got a car up underneath the bridge here. Might have involved a couple cars there since my wife wasn't able to get to it quick enough, but nonetheless, she's getting them put back on as quick as she can. That's what the track call button's there for. This is how track calls should be done. Only making a track call when you cannot get those cars on in a timely fashion. And I do appreciate my wife and how well she's been doing here lately. She's been doing great when it comes to be putting these cars back on, turned into a regular pro out here. Back to our somewhat of a rivalry this race night. I asked Tom if he thought that was personal coming around the horseshoe, and he said, I knew better than to run it up deep like I was. We can see my wife there trying her best to get a car put back on the lane. Wasn't able to do it. Also seeing the Mazzetti of Tom Payton there in the upper portion of the track. But Tom said, yeah, it ain't personal. I shouldn't have ran up on the outside of Bruce. I was trying to get a little something stirred up there and maybe make a little bit of a rivalry go down. But these guys are just too nice to each other. They don't want no rivalries. They want just good, clean racing fun. Every once in a while, I like a good old rivalry, though. And I think a good rivalry between Bruce and Tom would be a good one. But Tom ain't trying to make enemies today, at least. He's just out there trying to have fun. I was hoping maybe he would try to give a little bit back in kind, keep her a little bit interesting. But, of course, I love to see all these guys do very, very well. But it's always exciting to see guys and gals get out here and run really, really aggressive with one another. When guys are trying to intentionally wreck each other, you can see what kind of racer they really are and whether or not they can combat that and put up a defense and see who can make it through or not. And then, of course, at the end of the day, shake hands and say what a race. I've always found that if you can rub next to someone and not knock them out, I mean, that's some of the best racing you can possibly have on a slot car track. And I think these guys would agree to that too. We see a hard hit coming out of the back end of the donut portion of the track there. Bruce Bullington's car coming out, yet again coming out again there, having some issues down low on yellow. We've seen that a loose guide flag causing Glenn Burton to have some trouble on yellow. It looks like a little bit of trouble to be had there from Bruce Bullington. Now that lead dropped by 3 laps to Tom Payton. We'll see if Tom Payton's going to be able to make up some of those laps and keep his car there on black. It's literally just going to be given to the man with the most resolve. And so far tonight, that's been Bruce Bullington holding that resolve, earning that second position here tonight. We'll see if Tom Payton can increase that speed while still keeping that car on. Like I said, a very interesting choice of tires, but it looks like to be paying off here on Black Lane. As when this heat's over with, we'll do a little bit of comparison between his Black Lane and some others. But he's still no stranger to that outside wall, as everybody has tried to Bobby Pierce that donut like they're normally used to. But with such a high incline like that, pretty much any rear touch there on that upward incline is causing these cars to come off. Seems like there's still a little bit of an issue going on with Glenn Burton's car and his guide flag issue. As it seems like it was a little bit tough for my wife to get his car put back into the slot there. Maybe a stiff guide flag now. I'm sure Glenn will be able to get that thing under control here for too long. As I know Glenn, he's always tinkering on his cars just like the rest of these four. That's why these guys can run so many laps without wrecking, and why that they can run so close to one another. But Tom Payton and Bruce Bullington, speaking of close, like I said, within 3 laps of each other. Tom Payton actually not gaining on Bruce this heat. Bruce turning a faster median and a faster lap time, but essentially on a shorter lane. Yellow, one of the faster lanes there, as he's starting to still have the advantage of carrying that speed through the donut, but not as tight of an apex there in the horseshoe. So he's not having to slow down as much as Tom is, and Tom's not being able to carry as much speed as he'd like there in the black lane. We can still hear him drag his body there on the black. You'll hear that sound. That's him dragging that body around black lane. As he comes off there and has a little bit of a hiccup there, missing his braking point there in the S-turn. Tom's car coming off there again on black. But no more wrecking there on black than anyone else. Actually, I think he's actually probably done black lane, if not the best, probably second best. I don't know exactly how Randy did, but I know he came off a few times also before on purple. But this week, not having that much trouble on purple, he was actually zooming. So we'll just have to see here in about 8 seconds how well he's done. Right now, Tom Payton turning 73 total laps. Probably going to get 75 before it's all said and done. But then his car comes off, he's only able to make 74. That's the end of the heat. Let's do a little bit of comparison here for the black lane for all of our guys here tonight. So Tom Payton turning 74, he actually turned about 3 laps lower than Bruce. So Bruce actually did hold it within 3 laps there to Randy Kirtley. Bruce Bullington, every week, just that car keeps getting faster and faster. He's got a couple here under his belt in the 80s, the upper 80s here, or lower 80s here, and the upper 70s here on purple and black. So Bruce is definitely heading in the direction he wants to head, getting those laps. And Bruce is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I would rate Bruce and his skill level right there with Paul Woosley this year. They're going to be probably the closest together when it comes to rivalry. Him, Paul Woosley, and probably Gabriel Kirtley going to be right there with each other, I believe. Of course, Randy Kirtley there, him and Gabriel Kirtley right at the same amount of skill level also. But we'll just see how the race prevails as we continue on in this racing. But Tom Payton, he's not going to give it up without a fight. Going on a couple weeks vacation, he's just going to need a little bit more time to work on that car and get her just the way he wants. But speaking of that, let's just go over some of the series standings. Currently, right now, Paul Woosley out in the lead with 3,686. Bruce Bullington in second place with 3,523. Glenn Burden with 3,489 in third place, and that's your top 3. Randy Kirtley right there behind him with 3,234. Of course, he's going to increase that today, and he's a race behind those top 3 up there. So we'll see how that works out. Of course, Gabriel Kirtley, Guillermo Sire running right at the same amount of races. Tom Payton, of course, he's going to increase his tonight over Gabriel and Guillermo, pushing him up above, and Jay Latham also. So we'll see how that works out. Amani and Clay, of course, running the least amount of races that we've had here. And they're kind of having somewhat of a battle down there down low for our top 10. Then we have Jackson Darty out in the lead there with the Little Rumble with 586. Weston Durham, he's really wanting Jackson under his crosshairs in that, and there's still plenty of racing to go for that. Also, Carson Ross, he's in the mix too, missing a race last week, so that's why his score is a little bit low. But then the Rookie Rumble, we see Jackson also on top on it with 805, but right behind him, Bruce Bullington with 796, followed by Weston Durham there in third place with 786. Jay Latham was 772, and Carson Ross was 738. 16 seconds left to go. We'll be going back green racing. And this is our final heat, ladies and gentlemen. 5 minutes. 5 minutes left, and then all that's left is taking pictures in front of the podium with these guys. Maybe have a few words with our top 3 and after the race is over with. But so far, I mean, what a race we've been having here. Quite a big battle between Bruce Bullington and Tom Payton. Glenn, of course, running into some trouble, having some issues there on the yellow lane, especially tonight. But Randy Kirtley almost having a flawless race here tonight. Yet another one for him, where he's just running super smooth, hardly any incidents or any problems with his car. So this is going to be one for sure that Randy Kirtley is probably going to be able to check mark as saying, I'm not going to have to replace this race. But like I said, our first wreck took place there on yellow with Tom Payton. Seems like tonight the S turn is what's causing the most people the most irritation. This is yet another one here where we're seeing them popping out on the first belly of the S turn. We're seeing not only Tom, but we've seen this with Glenn Burden, and Glenn Burden says that it was because of a loose guide flag. Now, we all went out there and looked at the track. The track's laid down nice and low. The way that the track is kind of kiltered up a little bit, though, could be a possible change of elevation there, being a little bit higher here coming out of the donut on this side of the track. It's just a little bit higher up in the air. And that could be an issue with people's trigger fingers, causing them to shun it out right there on the first belly of the S turn. Because it seems like everybody's had an issue there tonight on yellow on that belly, and it just could be the one that's having the most pinching action take place right here, and they're trying to overcome it with the trigger. Bruce Bullington out there with 23 laps, 1 lap down from him, Tom Payton. Tom's going to have to make up right at 4 laps here. Bruce is going to have to come a full-speed come apart to give up that second position, or a gear strip motor, something go out but we can see that Bruce is now running deeper and stronger, leaving Randy in his wake there that last lap. Randy Kirtley now trying to dive bomb and make up some of that time, coming around the donut portion of the track just a little quicker than Bruce Bullington, but Bruce Bullington keeping it within 1 car length. We can see Bruce there getting just a hair sloppy around the donut portion, giving Randy about a 4 car length. Now we're going to start seeing some spread out here between the guys. And we can see that neck-and-neck battle taking place between Tom Payton and Randy Kirtley. They're neck-and-neck there. Tom Payton there on yellow, Randy Kirtley up there on the white lane. Neither one of them giving an inch here, and this is the kind of racing that Tom's going to need to be able to gain those laps. But then we see Randy Kirtley having almost a perfect section around that horseshoe there, getting about 6 or so car length laps in front. Now we see there that evil shark of Bruce Bullington coming up on Tom Payton. Tom does not like to see that yellow beast come up behind him, as it's probably putting a little bit of fear in Tom right now, as we see Bruce's car really in tow here tonight, running nice and clean. Randy and Glenn Burden there caught in the same kind of incident. Yet another guide flag issue here, having a hard time getting that red car of Glenn Burden's put in. But nonetheless, he gets it put in. Now we can see that the battle is about 12 car lengths difference between Bruce Bullington's, now a half track length between Bruce and Tom Payton. 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go, and we can see that Glenn Burden now getting under control his car, rounding about that red lane, keeping it nice and tight, neck and neck there with Bruce. As long as they can run neck and neck like this, they should be able to keep in tow, nice good rhythm. Randy Kirtley passing there on the backstretch. Glenn Burden hangs it out there in the horseshoe, causing a little bit of a slip up there. Now Randy Kirtley and Bruce Bullington there neck and neck for about a lap, and then Randy Kirtley just driving that white lane so deep and hard there through the horseshoe, holding that power down. Now we can also see behind Bruce Bullington there on the yellow lane, Tom Payton kind of reeling him in here as Tom Payton starts to make those faster lap transitions. He's able to pull right neck and neck with Bruce Bullington. But I don't think it's going to be enough, ladies and gentlemen, for him just to catch him. Randy Kirtley blew his motor as he goes to the pits here at the end. Like I said, 45 seconds left to go. It's going to be tough to gain those 40 laps. They'd have to almost make a lap per second. We see this battle ensuing here for a pretty good finish here. Tom Payton getting out in front of Bruce Bullington as we see the power of Bruce Bullington's car kind of slacking off. Oh, as we see the wife there slow to get the Mazzetti back in on the yellow lane, but she gets it back in there, costing Tom a little bit of time there. But nonetheless, I don't think he would have been able to make it up there in those 17 to 18 seconds anyway. Just a nice little show for us there towards the end of the race, keeping it neck and neck. Now everybody kind of stretched out pretty wide from each other with 7 seconds left to go. Tom Payton going his best to make another lap there on Bruce Bullington. Not going to be enough, folks, as we'll see Bruce Bullington there in second position. Randy Kirtley hanging on to the lead with 643 total laps tonight. 30 laps difference between him and Bruce Bullington. Tom Payton there in third place with 609 for your top three. Glenn Burden with an even 500, having a very rough night there on Orange Lane, costing him about 70 or 80 laps. So it would have been a whole lot closer, probably within 10 laps of each other there for fighting for second place if all things would have went well. But that's all we got here for the Thunder Series here tonight. Going to go out here, get a picture made with these guys, and have some final remarks with these guys. And I'm just going to leave it on this screen so you can see me kind of talk to them a little bit. Hopefully it's been coming in nice and clear. And then we're going to end for the night, and I'll come back in here and tell you guys bye.
Bruce, can I get a few words here before we line everybody up on the podium? I get a picture there of the results. Bruce, were you fingers crossed that Randy would have blew that motor there a little bit earlier?
Well, I didn't have time to cross him. He's too fast.
Well, he finally smoked that thing right there at the end. He had called it at the beginning of the race, and I said, well, man, this thing's staying about true the whole race long, about, 3.3 second lap times is what he was running. It was about a tenth of a second slower than what he ran last night. He was running 3.2 second lap time, so about a tenth of a second slower. But I seen all together tonight, the big trouble area seemed to be the S turn for everybody tonight. What do you think?
Well, the track is so flowing right now that then when you get over there on the S, you're like, okay, and then you just forget. You got to let off or you swap ends.
Yeah. Well, the horseshoe. Yeah. I was about to say the horseshoe. Tom Payton having an interesting tactic. I don't know if you know this, but he had let everybody know on the live stream, running one treated fish tire and one under rubber. And we noticed there on Black Lane, you can go back and review this tonight when you get a chance. But he was able to drift around the Black Lane on horseshoe, and it gave him a pretty significant advantage. I think he was just a few laps less than you, but he came off quite a few times here in the donut like the majority of people did tonight, trying to Bobby Pierce it around there. But second place tonight, Bruce, if that would have happened at the beginning of the heat, I think he would have been bringing home the victory tonight, and Randy would have been really thinking about making up a race. But Randy had a really good race other than his white lane tonight. No incidents, no problems. He didn't get caught up in stuff. Everybody else seemed to be fighting whether or not they were getting involved in incidents. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. It's just, I mean, if I come off, it's because of me. I was overdriving. I was just, like you say, y'all got the track fixed up good. It's got a lot of traction, and I was trying to hit the flow, and I should have been backing off when I should have, and I didn't. So guess what? But we had a decent night, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I think this will also help when we get a bigger pack probably Sunday. I think the guys will probably stay a lot more truer and hang in there a little bit better. Would you agree?
Oh, I agree, and plus with more people, it's harder to maneuver around everybody, and it's kind of hairy. You got to give and take, and some people don't, some people do.
Yeah, and it's funner with more people too, you would agree, right?
That's correct.
All right, thank you, Bruce. Randy Kirtley, man, everybody had crossed here tonight that you were going to blow that motor at the beginning of that heat, but nonetheless, you held it off and had one bad heat the whole night. You almost had another perfect race here tonight. No incidents, no issues whatsoever, getting around every wreck. Only what did you wreck? Maybe twice all night long?
Yep. It almost made it. That's been a good one there.
So she smoked all the way through. For you, we got 10.
Wore the brushes out in it.
Oh,
It runs, but don't have no brakes.
oh, brakes. Okay. Burnt the brakes out, ladies and gentlemen. I thought it was a full-blown smoke. Glenn, everybody, and myself included, hated to see that you were struggling, having so much troubles tonight. Do you think you're going to be able to get those figured out and fixed and ready to come back on Sunday?
Bring out the Sky car for Sunday.
Sky Active. I know a lot of people love the way that car looks and handles. So you think the Sky Active car probably in a lot better condition than this one currently?
No, I think the gear is just wrong for it. It doesn't have enough brakes going under the bridge. Might up the axle gear on it again.
So gear to get a little bit more brake.
Yeah, go back to a 34, 35 instead of a 32.
Well, I said what you to keep on that first belly of the S turn, including Randy Kirtley popping out on that yellow lane in the S turn. Try to go home. I appreciate it, Glenn. Tom, let me get a little word from you. I've talked to everybody else. What a race you've had tonight. Interesting things come to be. Are we going to be swapping back to the Lotus come Sunday, or are we still sticking with Mozzie?
Depending on if your brother's here or not.
If my brother's here, what are you switching to?
A Mozzie.
Saying Mozzie? Okay, so the tire compound selection here, the biggest thing on the agenda tonight that I've noticed, did it work? Did you think that it did well?
Honestly, I did. It felt like putting a treated fish where it drags the most, helps grip it down a lot more, and having the one rubber slide, it really starts to balance each other out once they run in together at the same time. It works a lot better.
Well, in the words of Harry Hogg, loose is fast.
That is true.
Well, I would agree. I seen you there on Black Lane kicking that baby sideways like Tokyo Drift. And I will say this, out of everybody that was on the Black Lane tonight, you got around that horseshoe the quickest.
You may want to look at
It looks like you lost both weights there. They're probably somewhere stuck in the track. Hopefully nobody gets hung up in those. But thankfully to T, she vacuumed the track out before the race. We'll do that again before Sunday. We're going to see you here Sunday beating up on Gabriel Kirtley.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I love to hear it. Thank you, Tom. All right, if we get Randy, Bruce, and Tom for the podium picture. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank every one of you here for viewing tonight. Please like, share, subscribe to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Get us out there. All these racers would definitely appreciate that. Come back and join us again here at Lanes Raceway Sunday, this coming Sunday, for all of our series races here at Lanes Raceway. LMP, Little Thunder, Rookie Rumble. Come back and join us. God bless you all, and thank you. As you can see, our racers getting their pictures taken there in front of the podium. Tom Payton holding his car up. A lot of these guys out here getting hungry. They want to go get them something to eat. But thank you all here at Lanes Raceway for stopping in. Pardon my green screen. You don't need to see back here. That's where we keep all the goodies. But thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you Sunday.